We've seen the beautiful yet tragic story of Raishao. We have seen the conqueror at the end of the century. But now it is time for Kaijo, the student council president, the one who stands above all Uma in her time and looks after them all at Draken Academy. It is Symboli Rudolf, the one whose simple uttering of her name demands respect. And we have got a video by Pyrix, thank you by the way, to tell us the tale of what I think will probably be, if they put it in such an authority role at the Academy, one of the greatest careers we will ever see. So let's get straight into the reaction, guys. Symboli Rudolf, the Emperor of Uma Musume. Let's get into it.
The Ashen Beast of Kasumatsu, the Black Assassin,
Ogre Cat,
the
Raishao
of the Century's End.
Opera.
These are all titles given to some of Japan's most notable racehorses, solidifying their
And can we just say that the Japanese have such a great naming sense when it comes to giving these horses nicknames.
Long after
they
their
go
retirement,
so hard.
Remembered in the world of horse racing. Nicknames are given to identify monumental victories or upsets that a horse achieved over the span of their career. For Ogre Cap, it would be the sheer amount of victories he displayed both in Kasumatsu and in graded races. For Raishao, it would be the major Triple Crown upsets against McQueen and Bourbon.
That's my girl.
For TM Opera,
that's my girl.
It would be the undefeated year of racing at the century's end.
It just goes so fucking hard.
However,
it looks so
one
cool.
nickname displays a history of sheer dominance. Emperor. This title was given to a racehorse who would rival some of the strongest of his era and emerge victorious, claiming the title of a Triple Crown victor. A racehorse who in Uma Musume is displayed as a calm and collected senior and the president of the student council, one who many look up to at Draken Academy. This is the story of Symboli Rudolf, the emperor who would see
Let's get into it.
Crown. Symboli Rudolf raced between the years of 1983 to 1986, and at the time of his career, there would only be 3 racehorses given the Triple Crown title. These horses would be Saint Light in 1941, Shinzan in 1964, and Mr. CB in 1983.
Out of curiosity, have any of these horses got Uma Musume counterparts? Because I don't think I've seen any of them yet, but the JP calendar is obviously so far ahead of the English release, so...
The one important thing to
are they in the game or not yet, is my question.
Is the introduction of the grading system first introduced in 1984. Graded races were created to identify the varying level of difficulty of each individual race. This evaluation, unsurprisingly, would also come with an increasing level of difficulty in terms of competitors. Graded races had originally started in Europe, with the European pattern race system being implemented in 1972. Following this, TOBA, or the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association, would begin their own grading project in North America in 1973. This was in response to European requests for a similar system to be established.
I suppose that makes sense.
North American graded stakes were later published in 1974. In the years leading up to the implementation of the graded system, there wasn't a Triple Crown series. Instead, Japan had what was known as the 8 Great Races, or the Hachi Daikyo So. This set of races included the 5
naming
great
sense
classics,
is insane.
These being the Oka Sho, Satsuki Sho, Tokyo Yushun, Yushun Himba, and the Kika Sho. In addition,
I don't think I've heard of the Himba.
Both the Spring and Autumn Tenno Sho, as well as
the rest are recognized, not the Himba.
To the series of great races. These were considered as the most prestigious races in Japan at the time. With the establishment of the new grading system, ranging from G3 to G1 races, that meant only one thing. New records could be set, and new legacies created.
It must have been such an exciting time in horse racing.
Symboli Rudolf was born on March 13,
must have been just so brand new and just sparkly cool.
Hokkaido. He was sired by Partholon and Sweet Luna. Luna was a daughter of Speed Symboli, a renowned Japanese racehorse who was the first ever to compete in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Symboli is in honor of the Symboli farm, which is where Rudolf was born. Rudolf refers to Rudolf I, an early king of Germany. During the early years of Rudolf's life, he became...
Can we not just gloss over that? Why? Why was he named after a king from Germany when his heritage is just purely Japanese?
Trained and conditioned to participate in a newly established Triple Crown series alongside his trainer,
That's mad.
Nohira. On July 23, 1983, Symboli Rudolf would take to the turf for the first time, participating in his debut race at the Niigata racecourse. Compared to the rest of Rudolph's career, this course was surprisingly short, being only 1,000 meters in total. Due to Rudolph's sire's lineage, this was a test of his racing capabilities. Partholon was an Irish racehorse, with those horses being better suited for short-distance sprint races. 1,000-meter courses are usually run with either one corner in a final stretch, or over the course of a straight line, making it optimal for a display of Rudolph's capabilities. Rudolph would place first in this race, establishing a promising career to come. From his debut race in July till the end of the year, Rudolph would participate in 2 more ungraded races alongside his jockey Yukio Okabe. These 2 races would be the
that name sounds familiar.
On October 29, 1983, and an open race held in Tokyo on November 27th of the same year. Rudolph would place first in these 2 ungraded races, only further solidifying the possibility for him to be a strong competitor in the years that followed. The open race that Rudolph attended in 1983 would also hold a great significance that would play a role in the future events of Rudolph's career. Originally, the plan was to enter Rudolph in the Asahi High Futurity Stakes, a major G1 stake-graded race for 2-year-old thoroughbreds. This is seen as a year-end championship for the 2-year-old division in horse racing in Japan. Rudolph, by this point, definitely displayed the qualities to win this race. However, his owner had another plan in mind. The open race Rudolph participated in was held in Tokyo, and it just so happens to have landed on the same day as the Japan Cup in 1983.
Is that the debut G1?
Visiting fans and racers alike the sheer strength that Rudolph had even at an early age. A display of confidence against some of the most fierce racers from around the world. This was during a period where Japanese racehorses were fighting to secure a victory against foreign competitors, making this declaration all the more risky for Rudolph. With this declaration of power, Rudolph would wrap up his first year of racing with 3 total races, placing first in each one. The Japanese Triple Crown Series is only available for 3-year-old thoroughbreds, so for Rudolph, his only opportunity would be in the year 1984. Before competing in the Triple Crown Series, Rudolph first needed to qualify by winning a preliminary race. Due to this, he would enter to compete in the 1984 Yayoi Show, which would be held on March 4th. The Yayoi Show doesn't only act as a preliminary requirement for the Triple Crown Series, but also is widely seen as a key trial race for the Satsuki Show, bringing in a list of strong competitors. Among them was a horse named Baizen Nishiki, an undefeated racehorse who also had 3 victories under his belt.
Yeah, so solid, good competition.
Favorite to win due to a G3 victory he'd achieved at the Kyoto High Yonsai Stakes in February. Despite the strong competition, Rudolph proved to the audience just how capable he was to claim victory. In the final spurt of the race, Rudolph advanced to the front of the pack, overtaking Nishiki to solidify his ability to compete in the Triple Crown Series. With this upset of the fan favorite, Rudolph will move on to begin his journey for the Triple Crown title. One important thing to note is that up until this point, Okabe, Rudolph's jockey, would also have a history of jockeying Nishiki, from the beginning of his career in 1983 up until the Kyoto High Yonsai Stakes. Okabe, prior to racing in the Yayoi Show, was presented a choice. He had to choose between jockeying Nishiki or Rudolph at the Yayoi Show. Okabe chose Rudolph despite Nishiki, at the time, being evaluated as he's stronger between the two.
Clearly, after riding both of them, doesn't matter what the newspapers say, doesn't matter what the articles say about who's the strongest horse. If he's ridden both of them, he knows, and he knew.
Okabe's choice to jockey Rudolph will result in Nishiki's owners discarding Okabe as a jockey in the future, seeing this choice as an act of betrayal. Once more, Rudolph would be faced against Baizen Nishiki, this time with much greater stakes on the line. This would mark the first Satsuki Show to be held under the new graded system.
It's one hell of a gamble, let's see if it paid off.
First year of the Triple Crown Series. After Rudolph's victory at the Yayoi Show, he was declared as a fan favorite to win. As the race began, Rudolph would hover mid-pack before accelerating after the 4th corner.
There he goes.
In doing so, he would once more find himself in the home stretch against Nishiki. Just like the Yayoi Show, Rudolph would pull ahead of his competitor, finishing the
No
race
competition.
a whole length ahead
No
of
competition.
Meiji. This
Okabe
wasn't only
knew.
a first-place finish,
Okube
but
knew.
also a record-setting time of
Okube
2 minutes,
knew.
1.1 seconds.
Jeez.
One important thing to note is the fact that Okabe, despite Rudolph's many victories, hadn't raised the whip on him once. Rudolph was seen as an intelligent horse who understood when to act during crucial moments in a race. Upon claiming victory, Okabe would hold one finger over his head, signifying this was the first of 3 victories to claim the Triple Crown.
Okay, dude's just aura farming. That is aura farming. It's like, that's 1. Wait till 2 and 3. But I also think it takes an intelligent jockey to realise this horse is taking me for the ride. I'm just along for it. I don't need to use the whip. I don't need to use anything. This horse has got me covered. That is an intelligent jockey and an intelligent horse. That is one terrifying combo for the competition for the rest of the pack.
After the Sasuke show, held on April 5th, 1984, Rudolph would set his sights on the Tokyo Yushun, which would be held on May 27th. At this point in Rudolph's short career, he had already made a name for himself as a fierce and feared competitor. Several racehorses avoided running in the Tokyo Yushun simply because Rudolph was a competitor. As the Tokyo Yushun
Hey, you're not going to compete against the best.
Okabe would later admit in interviews that he was hasty to have Rudolph advance forward during the second leg of the race. Rudolph was hanging in 7th to 8th place over a majority of the race itself, most likely shaking Okabe, leading to an early command to spurt to avoid a devastating loss. For the first time in his career with Rudolph, Okabe would raise the whip and strike Rudolph to command him to move forward. However, despite his jockey's hasty decision, Rudolph would continue to keep his pace. As the racers reached a final turn to the home stretch,
Well, he might have known.
Okabe would state that it was as if Rudolph were speaking to him, "Hold on tight" being what he heard. After this moment, Rudolph would surge from the outside from 7th
Okabe, trainer, jockey. Chill. I got this. Strap in. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
place all the way to 1st. Much of Rudolph's career isn't shown in the Uma Musume anime. However, the Tokyo Yushun is an exception. The Yushun is displayed in Season 2, Episode 1, where we see Tokai Teo, a real-life
Oh,
offspring
yes.
of Rudolph,
I remember.
observing her second victory in the Triple Crown series. Just like in the anime, following this race,
That's
Okabe
2.
would hold 2 fingers over his head,
He's coming.
signifying the second win of the series. This victory only left the Kika show to claim the Triple Crown. Rudolph's calm demeanor, even when all hope seemed lost, taught his jockey a lot about the horse itself. He would later admit that this race in particular would teach him a lot about horse racing. Before racing in the Kika show, Rudolph would participate in the Saint Light Kinen, a G3 race held on September 30th, 1984. At this point in his career, Rudolph had already displayed a unique aptitude for courses of varying lengths. Despite his first year of racing being on courses ranging from 1,000 to 1,600 meters, Rudolph still managed wins in medium and long distance races, ranging in length from 2,000 to 3,200 meters, especially due to the lineage Rudolph was from.
There's a reason they call her the Emperor.
It's rare to come across racehorses capable of performing well over all 4 aptitudes on the racecourse. Just like the Sasuke show, Rudolph wouldn't only win the Saint Light Kinen, but also set a record time of 2 minutes 13.4 seconds. This would mark Rudolph's 7th consecutive win, retaining his title as an undefeated racehorse, even after claiming 2 of the 3 Triple Crown titles. In the entirety of Japanese horse racing, even before the establishment of the grading system, there hadn't been a single competitor who claimed the Triple Crown without suffering a single loss. Shinzan would suffer a 2nd place finish a month before winning the Kika show, while Mr. CB would place 2nd.
So he does have a character. Mr. CB does have a character in game.
Saint Light, much like CB and Shinzan, would also suffer.
Character design team. When does she come to the EN server? I'm not even gonna. I'm no cat. I need to know. When does she come to the EN server? Do I need to download the Japanese game for this? Because that is peak character design right there.
For a 2nd place finish prior to claiming the Triple Crown.
Bit Mediterranean, bit Spanish. I like it.
Tokyo Yushun, they would be even greater at the Kika show. Unlike the Tokyo Yushun, Okabe would enter this race with more confidence, knowing he could rely on Rudolph's racing capabilities. During the span of this race, Rudolph would comfortably hang near the front of the pack before the last straight.
And guess what?
And secures first place position.
Off he goes.
For a moment, it seemed as though a fierce rush to the finish line would take place, with Goldway tailing close behind Rudolf. Despite the pressure, Rudolf would break away fully and solidify himself as the fourth horse to claim the Triple Crown title. In addition to this prestigious achievement, Symboli Rudolf would also be the first horse in Japan's history to claim the Triple Crown title undefeated, winning 8 of the total races he'd enter over the span of his career.
That one Yayoi statue, is that the race? Oh, it's popularity. No, it is popularity. I thought it was like, oh no, he got... No, that's just popularity. He still won it.
To further emphasize how impressive this achievement was, at the time of writing this script in 2025, there would only be 2 racehorses to achieve the same victory. These horses being Deep Impact in 2005
Great name.
Trail in 2020. To win the
Not as good name, but still a good name.
Impressive feat in itself, but it is nearly unheard of to win without suffering a single loss at all in a horse's career. With the win of the 3rd Triple Crown race under their belt, Okabe would confidently hold up 3 fingers following the win.
We did it, boys.
Show,
I told you. I told you.
Japan's 4th Triple Crown winner. Following the Kika show, Rudolf would put himself to the test. As his owners had displayed a year prior at the open race in Tokyo, it was time for Rudolf to show the world what he was capable of.
Oh, we're going international, baby.
1984, Symboli Rudolf would participate in the Japan Cup. It would be at this international race where Rudolf would face some of the strongest horses in his career. 2 notable names being Mr. CB, the previous year's Triple Crown victor, and Katsuragi Ace. Ace, although not a Triple Crown racehorse, was a fierce competitor in his own regard, having secured several victories over the span of his career leading up to the Japan Cup. He had clear potential to get the challenge. Ace's style of running was very similar to that of Silent Suzuka, a horse covered in one of my previous videos. A runaway method style of racing, running at full speed from the start to finish at the front of the pack. With such a strong lineup of Japanese competitors, hopes were also very high to have Japan secure a victory for the first time since the race's establishment, since the Japan Cup's creation in 1981.
Oh, so it hadn't been that long. Jesus. You made it sound like it had been decades. The Cup's only been around for 3 years.
From foreign competitors. Even though Rudolf fought hard in this race, he'd unfortunately suffer the first loss of his career. Even though Rudolf had a bad temperament while in the stables, being nicknamed as the Lion, Rudolf was a horse who normally had a calm temperament on the racecourse, being able to remain composed even in critical situations. Even so, after suffering this defeat, Rudolf would show clear irritation at his first loss. Even though he didn't place first, it's still remarkable that Rudolf finished 3rd in a race against the world's strongest competitors. The Kika show was held only 2 weeks prior to the Japan Cup, giving Rudolf little time to recover for such a critical race. Though Katsuragi Ace isn't in the Uma Musume anime, she is present in the game, where she both looks up to Rudolf and CB as inspirations, but also as rivals. Impressively, Ace would hold first place for a majority of the race, his front running style showing clear domination of speed and power with this victory. There wasn't much time to wallow in defeat though.
Oh wait, did he win?
A month following the Japan Cup, the Arima Kinen.
Oh, fair play.
Originally, Rudolf's trainer had no plans of entering him in this race. However, one sudden announcement would change that decision. Katsuragi Ace's owners would announce his retirement after competing in the Arima Kinen. We've seen before instances of rivals suddenly retiring and the whole left with never being able.
I think at this point we can just all agree that Arima Kinen is the legend maker of racehorses. So many legendary stories have come out of that race.
To overcome past defeats. A prime example being Jungle Pocket with Agnes Tachyon. Due to this sudden announcement, and seeking revenge for the Japan Cup's defeat, Symboli Rudolf would be registered to race in the
You want to retire on a high? You want to retire on a high? With me around?
And CB would be put against one another. Many spectators saw this as a continuation of the Japan Cup race, with 3 of the strongest racehorses of their generation being put against one another. Throughout the entirety of the race, Rudolf kept a close mark on Ace, and on the final straight, would accelerate, surpassing Ace and claiming a victory at the Arima Kinen.
Savage.
This would also mark another record time set by Rudolf.
And with a record time.
At 2 minutes 32.8 seconds. A loss in the previous month had only pushed Rudolf and his handlers to strive for even greater achievements in the future. Following this victory, Rudolf would end the year of 1984 with the Triple Crown title and only one loss in his career. Now, for many horses we cover in these videos, normally that would be the end of our story. Rudolf would either retire or become a breeding stud. But this is the Emperor we're talking about here, and we still need to cover the race that gave him that title. Entering the year of 1985, Rudolf would compete in 6 total races. Coming off such a dominating year that was 1984, expectations were high to see more victories from the public. On March 31st, he'd compete in the first race of the year, the Nikkei Show, a G2 graded race. Starting the year strong, Rudolf would seize yet another victory, making his overall record at this time 10-1. Following the Nikkei Show, Rudolf would race in the Spring Tenno Show, claiming another victory in his 3rd year of racing. At this point, Rudolf was displaying his strong presence on the race course once more. However, in Rudolf's race history, one particular race would stand out. Following the Spring Tenno Show held on April 29th, Rudolf would be set to race on June 2nd at the Takarazuka Kinen. There isn't any placement record for this race though, with Rudolf being scratched from the competition. A day before the Takarazuka Kinen, while training at the Hashin racecourse, Rudolf would slip due to the mud that had newly formed on the track. Due to this, Rudolf would suffer a shoulder injury and Okabe's slight bruising from being thrown from the fall. Though his handlers expected a speedy recovery following the cancellation of the Takarazuka Kinen, a new problem would quickly arise. Rudolf began experiencing muscle pains along with his shoulder injury, and to make matters worse, the process in order to treat his injuries would be painful for the racehorse. At the risk of retirement, Rudolf's owners would authorize a treatment utilizing fine needles to aid with muscle stimulation.
You can give horses acupuncture,
as well as extracting infected blood riddled with bacteria.
This
new. Method of recovery was a gamble in itself, but luckily,
didn't know that.
Rudolf would eventually recover, aiming to participate in the remaining G1 races of 1985.
Is he going to come back at the Aramaki then?
On October 27, 1985, Rudolf would enter the Autumn Tenno Show. Having won the Spring Tenno Show, he was highly expected to claim yet another victory. Just like the Japan Cup, this race would result in Rudolf's 2nd loss of his career. One interesting thing to note is the fact that, despite Rudolf's many victories, his defeats were discussed much more in the racing world. Rudolf,
probably because it's just so rare.
However, his losses were very infrequent and always at high-stake races. The Japan Cup against the world's strongest competitors, and the Autumn Tenno Show, where he would have set yet another record if he'd placed first. Up until this point, no racehorse had ever claimed back-to-back victories at the Spring and Autumn Tenno Show. It wouldn't be until Tamamo Cross's career in 1988 that the record will be set. This thought of not only becoming the first Japanese racehorse to win the Japan Cup, but also the possibility of being the first horse to win back-to-back victories at the Tenno shows, left a lot of expectation on the table for Symboli Rudolf. Speaking of the Japan Cup, following the Autumn Tenno Show, that would be the exact race that Rudolf would participate in next. A month following the Tenno Show, on November 25, 1985, Symboli Rudolf would once more take to the racecourse, facing off against the strongest from around the world once again. The pressure was not only there for Rudolf to redeem himself from last year's defeat, but now, to also continue the winning streak Katsuragi Ace had established a year prior. Both Ace and CB wouldn't be participating in this race, leaving the door wide open for Rudolf to rise to claim Japan's second victory at this race. Unsurprisingly, Rudolf would be set as the overall fan favorite to win, with Golden Ivory from the United States being the second favorite overall. Once more, at the final stretch of the race, Rudolf would surge ahead of his competition, claiming victory as the second racehorse in Japanese history to win the Japan Cup title. This not only was monumental after a crushing defeat at the Autumn Tenno Show,
there's a reason they call him
the nickname of
the Emperor.
Rudolf had not only claimed the Triple Crown title without any losses at the time, but also would stand atop of the world's strongest at the 1985 Japan Cup.
61, 70, we're just winning it all. Winning it all.
Horse racing history, instilling faith that Japanese-bred horses could contest the strongest from around the world. Funnily enough, Rudolf was such a strong competitor that betting tickets in his favor were commonly referred to as bank tickets, with those betting on Rudolf knowing that it wasn't a gamble whatsoever, but a guaranteed payout instead.
Yeah, I can't imagine the odds were great.
So strong that victory was deemed absolute.
Honestly, I would have loved to know the odds on Katsuragi Aces winning the Japan Cup, considering the field, considering everyone that they were racing against. The odds on that must have been quite tasty if anyone went for it.
A commercial which aired in 2013 by the JRA would use Rudolf as an example to highlight the Japan Cup held that year. It would state the following message. The 1985 Japan Cup. A man once said, "There are no absolutes in horse racing, but that horse is an exception. A horse whose 3 defeats make you want to speak more than his many victories. Symboli Rudolf, the Eternal Emperor. That honor
the Eternal
Japan had reached
Emperor.
The world. Conquer the globe." This was showcased that even decades
Nicknames
after
just
Rudolph's
go so
retirement,
hard,
his impact
man.
and legacy would still stand strong as the years progressed.
Eternal
Following the victory at the
Emperor.
Japan Cup, Rudolf would participate in his second Arima Kinen on December 22nd, 1985. Due to this being Rudolph's last race in Japan, the goal was simple. It
Win.
wasn't just to win, but to show the audience a sheer display of power that Rudolf possessed. Okabe didn't mark any competitors this time around, instead trusting in Rudolf to show the audience a true spectacle of horse racing.
I'm sorry, that's just a flex. All of you, no.
Ending off a dominating legacy, Rudolf would win his second Arima Kinen, ending his career in Japan with sheer dominance. Over the span of his career in Japan, Rudolf would be registered for a total of 16 races, placing first in 13, second and third in 1, and having to withdraw from the Takara
It's just
Kinen.
dominance.
With such a
Pure,
strong legacy
unadulterated
established in Japan,
dominance.
Rudolf's new aim was to take on the world. In 1986, Rudolf would aim to compete in the L'Arc de Triomphe. Evidently, Rudolph's owners at the Symboli Ranch wanted to rake in more profits that came with Rudolph's victories. Against the request of Rudolph's trainer, Yuji Nohira, Rudolf would be registered to race in the San Luis Race Stakes held in the United States. Nohira was concerned of having Rudolf race in such close succession to traveling and undergoing rigorous training. This lack of self-awareness for Rudolph's well-being would come to backfire on the owners of the Symboli Ranch, with Rudolf placing 6th at the San Luis Race Stakes. Rudolf would be injured in this race.
Mate, why have trainers? Why have people who spend every day with the horses if you're not going to listen to their professional opinions? It blows my mind. It's like, oh, money. Take care of the thing that's got you this money, the sentient creature which has raced and won. Take care of that. That is the reason that you're in the position you're in. Take care of your animals.
Suffering from a sudden outbreak of ligamentitis. Had Rudolf been properly trained and conditioned, we would have seen one of the greatest races in history. Symboli Rudolf versus Dancing Brave, an extremely strong racehorse from America who won the L'Arc de Triomphe in 1986. Sirius Symboli, a horse from the same ranch as Rudolf, would compete in Rudolph's stead, placing a devastating 14th in the L'Arc de Triomphe. After returning to Japan, Symboli Rudolf would celebrate his retirement with his handlers holding a ceremony for him on December 7, 1986. As Rudolf walked amidst the crowd, he could be seen wearing the 7 crowns number, signifying the wins over his career. A year after this event,
Just gotta let them know one more time.
Symboli Rudolf
How
was
many?
inducted to the JRA Hall of Fame.
How many?
For the sheer dominance that his career displayed in Japan. In retirement, Symboli Rudolf would become a breeding stud who would produce several strong offspring, the most notable being Tokai Teo, who I've also done a video about if you'd like to check that out. Rudolf would enjoy
I don't mind if I do, that might be next.
2011, where he would pass away at the age of 30. This is also
That's
notable due to just how
a
long
very good
Rudolf
run.
lived.
That's
and
a very
even in
good run.
retirement, still maintaining a sharp physique. Horses normally live till their mid-20s, making Rudolph's title as emperor hold much more value even in his retirement. Rudolph's legacy still holds its weight even in modern day, with many regarding him as one of the strongest horses to ever emerge from Japan. So let me ask you this simple question. After listening to this extensive history of our beloved emperor,
Come on.
wouldn't you like to see an Uma Musume anime season dedicated to him? There's many Umas who surround Rudolf that could be given the spotlight as well, such as Katsuragi Ace and Mr. CB. Even though Rudolph's career ended with a crushing defeat, his legacy remains as one of the strongest in Japan.
I'll answer at the end.
This was the story
I'll answer
of
at the end.
Symboli Rudolf, a racehorse who showed sheer strength against the world's strongest, personified in Uma Musume as the Emperor of Traisen Academy, the ideal, the pinnacle of the racing world.
Would I like to see a series based on Symboli Rudolf? That is a great question. And I feel like I err on the side of no. And there is a reason for that. I feel that it could get boring very quickly. You looked at the record. You saw the record. It was, what, 13 wins, 1 second, 1/3, and 1 scratch. That is pure dominance. That is absolutely unadulterated domination. Even the punters, they call betting on this horse a banker, because that is how often that it will come in. So would that make for a good anime series? Well, if we look in the past, we've got Special Week, we've got Tokai Teo McQueen, and we've got Oguli Cap, as well as the movies, but we'll focus on the series for now. All three of those racehorses had extremely engaging stories where they weren't dominant. They weren't the pinnacle of their time. They had amazing careers, but it wasn't a straightward path to victory. This would be Symboli Rudolf's career. I had a little wobble at the end. Spechan, Ugly Cap, Teo, McQueen, even the side characters that got involved like Rice, Cheval, Suzuka, their careers were tumultuous. They were up and down. And that's, for me, what makes a great story. It isn't just sheer domination, although I do think that could make for a great movie. One of these races would make for an excellent movie. But I think as an overarching story in a series, I don't think that Symboli Rudolf, after witnessing this, would make for a great protagonist. Katsuragi Ace, on the other hand, I feel like that's a story in itself. I don't know her race record, but the fact that she came out of nowhere to win that Japan Cup, the first ever Japan Cup, I feel like if they are going to do it, I feel like she should be the protagonist, honestly, because that is a story of triumph in itself, and it came out of nowhere. So that might be a hot take, that might be a controversial opinion, but I don't think that Psy Games could do no wrong. If they decided to do it, I imagine it would be phenomenal, and I, of course, would watch it. But if you're making a series, it's about the stories, it's about the trials and tribulations, and the hurdles that have to be overcome to make you want to root for these girls. Tokai Teo on the edge of retirement, and then Twin Turbo comes on the big screen. That's my favourite scene out of any of the series, any of the movies. That right there is my favourite scene, and that is what makes these series iconic for me, is they stir that stimulation, that feeling, that emotion, where you just want to support the anime horse girls, and that's such an insane sentence to say. But they do it. And it's moments like that that do it, which is a reason I love Season 2. The end of Season 3... Spoilers. The end of Season 3, with Tamano Cross winning, that is the adversity for Oguri Cap for the upcoming Season 2. Very excited Season 2. That is what tells a great story. It's the adversities along the way, and I just don't think you get that with Symboli Rudolf. I have harped a lot longer than I was planning to on that simple question. As always, Pyrex, mate, absolutely smashed it. Love the videos. Can't wait for the next one. I need to do more. I need to watch the Agnes Tachyon. I need to watch Tokai Teo. And I probably will in the near future. So if you guys are looking forward to that, if you've just gotten through me rambling about Symboli Rudolf, thank you for hanging around. This video is much longer than I planned it to be, but that just shows the quality of the video that we watched. So thank you, Pyrex. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you did enjoy it, please leave some likes, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. So until then, Laverick out.